Good evening. Today is Wednesday, July 8th, 2026. You're listening to Cyber FM. I'm your host, Arias Thomas, and this is today's Cybersecurity Report, being brought to you by the RSSH Delivery Company, New York's exclusive delivery option.
I got broads in the line, just to be in the family. Credit cards in the scammers, hitting the licks in the van. Legacies, family, wait and see it like a panda. Going out like a Montana, honey killers on the hands. I got broads in the line, just to be in the family. Credit cards in the
You are listening to Cyber FM, hosted by Arias Thomas.
Welcome to Cyber FM. I'm your host, Arias Thomas, and I'm glad that you're here. It's Wednesday, July 8th, 2026. We're right in the thick of the week, and while most of the city is heads down at their desk, the attackers are heads down too, and they've had a busy few days. This is the show dedicated to reporting on cyber warfare, and today we've got 4 fresh stories straight from the wire. Here they are. An 8-year-old flaw hiding inside the very security system that's supposed to protect your Samsung Galaxy phone, one that could hand an attacker the whole device, a notorious extortion crew that has robbed dozens of the world's biggest companies this year without exploiting a single software bug, where they just pick up the phone and talk their way in, a trio of maximum severity holes in the Ubiquiti netgear that runs countless homes, small offices, and businesses now under active attack, and the scam that's quietly become the #1 way malware gets onto computers in 2026. A fake prove you're human box that tricks you into infecting yourself. A phone's own guardian turned traitor, a help desk talked out of its keys, a network box under siege, and a click that isn't what it seems. 4 battles, 1 front. Let's begin.
Story number 1, the guardian that turned. An 8 yearold flaw in Samsung's Knox exposed millions of phones.
Our first story is for the hundreds of millions of people walking around with the Samsung Galaxy in their pocket. Researchers at a firm called LucidBit Labs uncovered a serious flaw. And here's the twist that makes it sting. It was hiding inside Knox, the very security framework Samsung built to keep these phones safe. The bug is tracked as CVE 2026-20971. And by the researchers' account, it had been sitting there undetected for roughly 8 years. Here's the shape of it in plain terms. Deep in the phone's core software, Knox runs a component whose entire job is to verify that every running process is trustworthy. The flaw is what engineers call a use after free, a timing bug where the system frees up a piece of memory and then, a beat too late, tries to use it again. In that silver of a moment, a malicious app with no special permissions could corrupt the phone's memory and step by step work its way toward taking over the entire device. The affected range is enormous, essentially every Galaxy from the S9 up through the S25, plus the A series, across 4 different versions of Android. Now the good news and the catch together, Samsung quietly fixed this in its January 2026 security update, and exploiting it requires local access and a bit of user interaction. But local does a lot of quiet work in that sentence. Think of a lost phone, a borrowed phone, a phone left on a desk, or a single careless tap. And there's a bigger irony worth naming. This flaw didn't live in some sloppy, forgotten corner of the phone. It lived inside the security system itself, the part Samsung added specifically to raise the bar for attackers. Sometimes the more machinery you bolt on to protect something, the more surface area you create for a subtle bug to hide in. It's also a lesson in how long, custom, vendor-specific code can quietly carry a vulnerability across years of new models, new chips, and new Android versions, while everyone assumes the security layer is the one thing they don't have to worry about. So here's the takeaway, and it takes about 30 seconds. On your Galaxy, open Settings, go to About Phone, and check your Android security patch level. If it's dated January 2026 or later, you're good. If it's older, please update it right now. If you manage a fleet of company phones, enforce a minimum patch level through your device management tools and flag anything that's fallen behind. In the broader lesson, treat the security features on your devices as part of the attack surface, not a magic shield. And never assume it's the protected part means it's the safe part.
Story number 2, no 0-day required, how ShinyHunters talked its way into dozens of the world's biggest companies.
Story number 2 is about a crew called ShinyHunters, and it's the most important kind of story we run, because there's no clever exploit in it at all. This is a financially motivated data extortion group that has, by researchers' counts, breached more than 40 major organizations just this year. And they did it almost entirely by talking to people. Here's the playbook, and it's unnervingly simple. Instead of hunting for a software bug, ShinyHunters picks up the phone. They call an employee at a target company, impersonate the internal IT help desk, and spin a plausible story. Usually something like, "We're updating your security settings. I just need you to confirm a code." On that call, they walk the victim into handing over their single sign-on password and, crucially, the multi-factor code that's supposed to be the backstop. Sometimes they point the victim at a fake login page that's a pixel-perfect copy of the company's real one. Other times they abuse the trusted connections between business apps, quietly writing a stolen access token from one cloud service into another. Once they're in, they vacuum up whatever sensitive data they can reach across the company's cloud platforms. And then becomes the squeeze: a ransom demand, a 72-hour countdown, a sample of the stolen token posted publicly as proof, and increasingly direct harassment of the victim's own staff to crank up the pressure. And the scale is genuinely staggering. Their confirmed victims this year read like a directory of household names across gaming, retail, telecom, and education. One breach of a single widely used school platform alone exposed records on hundreds of millions of students. Even the arrest of several alleged members overseas last year didn't slow the operation down for a single month, because this isn't just one person. It's a loose, resilient network. The single most important detail flagged by Google's own threat intelligence team is this: the one defense that reliably beats their phone-based trickery is phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication, which is a physical hardware security key or a pass key. Text message codes, authenticator apps, and tap-to-approve push notifications can all be talked out of a victim over the phone. A hardware key cannot. So here's the takeaway, and it applies to every organization with the help desk and every person with the work login. Burn one rule into your team's memory. Real IT will never call you and ask you to read back a multi-factor code. If that call comes, hang up and dial IT back on a number you already trust. Move your most important accounts onto a hardware security key or a pass key. A $25 key is arguably the best security money you'll spend this year. And for the folks running the systems, audit which outside apps have standing access to your cloud data and rip out anything you don't recognize. The broader lesson to sit with here is that the attackers have stopped breaking down the door. They're calling you up and politely asking you to open it. And no software patch on earth fixes a convincing phone call.
Story number 3, maximum severity under active attack. The Ubiquiti flaws in the box on your wall.
Story number 3 takes us to a name a lot of you have in your homes and offices without thinking about it. It's called Ubiquiti, and it's a popular UniFi line of routers, switches, gateways, and access points. This is the gear that quietly runs the network at countless small businesses, schools, managed IT shops, and prosumer home setups. And this past week, the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency confirmed that attackers are actively exploiting a serious flaw in that right now. CISA added 3 separate UniFi OS vulnerabilities to its known exploited vulnerabilities list, and at least one of them is being used in live attacks. The most severe carries a perfect 10 out of 10 severity score. It's an access control flaw that lets an attacker on the network make unauthorized changes to the system, altering its configuration, switching off security controls, and bending the network to their own will. A second flaw lets an attacker read sensitive files off the device, potentially including the credentials stored on it, and a third allows them to run their own commands on the box outright. String those together, and an attacker who compromises your UniFi controller isn't just messing with one device. They've got a beachhead to pivot into your entire internal network, harvest credentials, and quietly reroute your traffic. CISA gave federal agencies a hard 3-day deadline to patch, which tells you how serious they're taking it. Ubiquiti already shipped the fix back in May. What makes this network gear such a juicy target is exactly what makes it easy to forget. These devices sit above all of your defenses, steering the traffic, but they can't run the antivirus or endpoint protection software that watches your laptops and servers. So a compromised router is both powerful and nearly invisible. And this is prosumer-friendly equipment, which means a lot of people running it are small offices and households that set it up once years ago and haven't thought about it since. They set it and forget it. That set it and forget it habit is precisely what an attacker is betting on. So here's the takeaway. If you got any Ubiquiti UniFi gear at home or at work, log into your UniFi system and update it to the latest version today. The patch is out and waiting. Do not leave the management interface exposed to the open internet. Put it behind a VPN or log it to trusted addresses only. And take a minute to review the logs for configuration changes you didn't make or accounts you don't recognize. The broader lesson here is the little box blinking on your wall is a computer, and it's one attacker specifically loved because it holds the keys to everything downstream of it. And it's the one device almost nobody remembers to patch.
Story number 4, prove you're human. The fake CAPTCHA that tricks you into infecting yourself.
Our fourth and final story today is about a trick that has quietly become the single most common way malware now lands on people's computers. It's called ClickFix, and its genius is that it doesn't hack your machine at all. It convinces you to do the hacking for it. Fresh research out this month analyzed thousands of live examples, and the verdict from defenders is blunt. This technique is here to stay, not going anywhere. So here's how it gets you. You land on a web page, maybe a compromised site, maybe one served up through a poison ad or search results, and you're met with something totally familiar. A verify you're a human CAPTCHA box, or a fake browser update prompt, or an error message saying something's broken. But the checkbox is rigged. Instead of a normal click, the page gives you simple instructions. Press this key combination, paste this in, and hit enter. What you don't see is that page has already slipped a hidden command onto your clipboard. Follow those steps and you've just pasted that command into the guts of your own operating system and run it yourself, quietly installing a password stealer or a remote access tool that hands your machine to a stranger. Because you ran it with your own permissions using tools that came built into your computer, there's often no malicious file for your antivirus to catch and no exploit for your email filter to block. That's the whole point. And it has absolutely exploded. One security firm measured this style of attack jumping more than 500% in a single year. And Microsoft found it was the way in for nearly half the intrusions it's tracked. It's cheap. It's sold as a ready-made kit on criminal forums, and it's being used by everyone from ordinary crooks to state-sponsored spies out of Russia, Iran, and North Korea. It spawned a whole family of copycats with names like FileFix and CrashFix. It's now coming for Mac users too. And the newest versions are specifically engineered to slip past the tools defenders use to catch it. It works because the exploit's the one thing no patch can fix, a busy person's reflex to click through a verification box without really reading it. So here's the takeaway, and honestly, this is one rule that stops the entire attack cold. Memorize it and tell the people you care about. No legitimate website, no CAPTCHA, no browser, and no Windows update will ever ask you to press a key combination and paste a command to prove you're human or fix a problem. Ever. If a page tells you to do that, that page is the attack. Close the tab. Attackers lean on urgency and countdown timers to rush you past your better judgment. So the defense is simply to slow down. And for the organizations listening, consider restricting the command line and run tools for everyday users. And drill that single reflex into your team. The broader lesson to close out today's show is the most dangerous move in cybercrime right now isn't a brilliant exploit. It's a polite set of instructions that gets you to carry the malware in through your own front door. Today's episode is brought to you by the RSSH Delivery Company, New York's exclusive delivery option. When your package has to get across the city quickly, safely, and in good hands, the RSSH is the name to call. They are New York's exclusive choice and the gold standard in delivery. Rain, shine, rush hour, or heat wave, it doesn't matter. The RSSH Delivery Company, New York's exclusive delivery option. And that's our show for this Wednesday, July 8th. Let's bring the front lines together because, if you listen closely, 3 of today's 4 stories share the same quiet punchline. The attacker never actually broke in. An 8-year-old flaw hiding inside the phone's own security guard, waiting on a single careless tap. An extortion crew that robbed dozens of giant companies, not with an exploit, but with a phone call and a good story. And a fake little checkbox that talked you into installing the malware yourself. And then the 4th, those maximum severity holes in the Ubiquiti gear. The flip side of the same coin. The door you left unlocked because you forgot the little box on the wall was even there. The modern attacker rarely picks the lock anymore. They get you to open the door for them. with a convincing call, a familiar looking prompt, and a moment of inattention, or they just slip through the door that you never got around to locking. Your firewall can't stop a phone call, and your antivirus can't stop you from typing. So this week, update your phone and the network box on your wall. Move the accounts that matter onto a hardware key, and never ever paste a command a web page hands you. The locks are only as good as the habits behind them. This has been Cyber FM. I'm your host, Arias Thomas, and this show has been brought to you by the RSSH Delivery Company, New York's exclusive delivery option. Stay sharp, stay patched, stay secure.
Money killers on the helmets. I got broads in Atlanta, just to throw me in the family. Credit cards in the scammers, hitting the licks in the van. Legacies, family, wait and see it like a panda. Going out like a Montana. Money killers on the helmets.
You are listening to Cyber FM, hosted by Arias Thomas.